Hey there, I'm Caden Rains and welcome to my basement. Today we are continuing the Ninjago City line with the Ninjago City docks. This is still mostly from the movie as a tie-in, whereas the follow-up sets would be under the Legacy line and have less direct connections to the movie, other than the fact that they are Ninjago City sets. So let's take a look at the minifigs and then we'll dive into the build itself. So going from left to right, we have Runjay, who appears to be some kind of fish merchant like the character in the previous set. We've got Runday, who, given the name similarity, I'm going to go with there being family members. I don't know. I don't know enough about Ninjago. I apologize, but he gives me an Uncle Ben vibe, so I hope he never catches on fire. Dareth, or Dareth, who I know a little bit of because I have seen a little bit of the older episodes, so he was like a wannabe kung fu guy, ninja guy. Lil Nelson, who I guess is Dareth's student at this point. Rune May, who again with similar naming, maybe she's related to these two, but she's like a chiseler or a sculptor or something, and I think it's interesting because they made the chisel, because she's got a chisel and a hammer, but the chisel piece is just a black lipstick piece from the Friends line. It's even still made of the rubber. And it comes with a second one, so I feel like giving it to a goth girl character to so she can get her black lipstick going. We've got Chan Kong Sang, which with that name and the fact that he's got money makes me think he's some kind of rich kid or guy. Mistake, which is a name, and besides it being spelled with a Y, I don't know what's a mistake about her. Betsy and her kid. Got a kid. We've got the Soy Jack. Chad is his name. Not Soy Jack, but he is called Chad. And, I guess he's a Chad. He's got the blazer on and whatnot. We've got Cole, who's actually one of the ninjas. And then another version of Lloyd, which is seemingly pretty similar to the one we got in the previous Ninjago City set. So I think they should have put a different character in. Even just Cole's ninja outfit, the way they did with Lloyd in the previous set. But whatever. We've also got a Private Puffer, who, again, because this is from the movie, that's why he's there. I don't know if he ever showed up in the show. The episodes I saw were more focused on snakes and skeletons, but I know he was in the movie. And then Garmadon, of course, so because he's the reoccurring villain, I guess, overall, or at least the most well known, I'd say. Even as someone who doesn't know much about Ninjago, I know who Garmadon is even before the movie. So I do think these minifigs are good overall. I feel like some of them are very specific to the show, which makes sense. It's just, even though this is based on the movie, they're gonna take things from the show. That I'm not complaining about that. But outside of 4 and I guess a half, most of these characters don't mean anything to me. I will say, like the previous set, oh, here's a mistake. I didn't push her down all the way. Like the previous set, most of the figures have good amounts of printing on all their pieces. Only 3, not counting the mini legs on Lil Nelson, only these 3, Mistake, Betsy, and Chad, don't have leg printing. So, I'm gonna keep pointing it out, I guess. Even when it's good, I gotta make a note of it. But other than that, I feel like these minifigs, they'll fill out the town, which is the point of the minifigs to a degree. At least in my city. I don't play with them. I set them up and more or less let them just hang out wherever they end up. So there are the minifigs. They're a good collection. And even if you don't know the series, at least they look nice so that they can fill out the city as we've got it. So now that we've looked at them, let's take a look at the build as a whole. So here are the Ninjago City docks, with the docks being front forward facing on all the advertising they did for this set. It's on the front of the box. It's on the back of the box. It's on all the pictures, which makes it weird that this is the back of the set. This set is designed to connect to the Ninjago City set we looked at last time, and you can do it from either side because that set's a corner. So you can put it here, you can put it there, but it's meant to connect to that set. So that makes it weird to me that they spent so much time focusing on this side when it's the back. This is the front. And I get that that's a little less interesting, but this is what's going to show if you connect it to the Ninjago City first set. This is the front. It's only if you either show the backside of the main Ninjago City or have this on its own that you can display this side, the one that they advertised so much, as on the front, which is a really weird decision to me. Because if you bought this set early on, which I did get this one pretty early because I always knew I wanted to have a little, like, little Tokyo section of my city, or Little Ninjago as it's turning out. So when they announced this set, I saved up for it because, you know, these don't go on sale, if ever. And if I had known that this is what it was going to look like as the display part, I probably would have held back. Now, is it a bad set? No. From a Skyline perspective alone, it's still good. And I'm going to display it. But I do wish that they had been a little more upfront about what it was going to look like. Because I don't even know if they had the 360 view for all sets going on when this came out, like on the website. And even if they did, it probably, I don't know if I would have noticed, because again, I was a bit younger at that point, if I would have noticed that this was what's going to be displayed. Unless you really reconfigure the way the setup is. So again, I'm sorry for that long negative rant, but let's take a look at what we got going here. There is a little side build, little vehicle build like the previous set. We've got just a little fishing boat kind of thing. It has a secret compartment for, I guess, little tomes or books, or maybe they're action figures. There was some 1x2 tiles like that in the previous set they kind of looked like that were supposed to be action figures. But that slides in this little alcove here, which is fun. I don't know how necessary it was, but it's neat. I'm not saying it's bad. We've got, again, the docks. There's a little play feature with this, which you can, there's no like mechanism for it, but you can make this go up and down. And there's some gems in here. And there goes that. So, it's cute, I guess. And then we'll go into more detail in a second. But looking at the other side, really the sides aren't really worth looking at because they are, again, meant to be up against other modulars, specifically the Ninjago City ones. But looking at this side, got a little fisher here. They did something like this display or legwork, whatever you want to call this, in the other set. So I'm glad they kept the design elements going, especially with the roofs and the colors being kind of muted towards the bottom and then getting more colorful as you go up, because that happened in the previous set too. And the way things are slanted and the windows, it looks good. It's just not, again, it's thinking about how they advertise this, and it just really isn't the way they advertised it, which is a bummer. But let's start looking at each section, and so we can get a good detailed look at what this set really has to offer. All right, so getting a closer look at the first level, we of course have that little nook for the boat, the docks, as I already showed you. There's a chicken stall, and there's a cat, and the legs are really supposed to be on there. I'll lift them off so when I set the minifigs up, they can be eating some of the chicken. And then there's a fruit stall. There's not really much behind that. You can set figures up there, but I guess it's supposed to be like the shopkeeper stands back there. But again, he can't see through the fruit stack, so there's really not much back there at all. I do think this roof section here is clever. I need to straighten it a little more, but those are shovels. Those are the blades of shovels. So that's like with the crowbars on the previous set. That's actually pretty clever. And then it's a little more. That's probably the most out there roof. The rest are just regular pieces. Interestingly, we've got these chests, not chests, but barrels here. And so they've got 3 really random things in them. One's got cookies, one's got soda, and the other has a skull. And that's what the instructions said to do, is put that skull in there. So I don't know if that's canon to the show, but that's canon to this set. Also, as we go, pretty much everything is stickers. So those signs are stickers, those are stickers. Some of those are similar to the previous set, so on. Even this City of Ninjago sign, it doesn't make sense because you're not going to see it where it's when this is displayed. So I'll probably put that somewhere else, but whatever. We also have Rune Maze Shop. And again, you can see that lipstick piece being used as a chisel. Where in here, we've got a bunch of stone stuff that's been carved. We got a little person, we got chickens, one of these little lamp things, and even a skeleton down there in progress. And interestingly, they've got a take on this classic image, but redone for minifigs. Even with the laurel leaf there, that's kind of funny. But just I wish it wasn't a sticker, but it's just kind of cute. This little alleyway just leads to the other side. This is what turns the chicken, which is fun, but I don't know how necessary it was. And then that's the back of the cove. So let's go back to the front. And this is, in the box, it's shown that this is where Chad's coming out of. So I guess this is his place, or he goes here. But it's got a bunch of maps in there, along with a globe. But it's also a Bionicle reference. One of 2 or 3 in this set. Those are Bionicle runes there. That's the island from the original series, as far as I remember. I don't remember if that is. I don't think it is. But, you know, it's just interesting. And it's also got this telescope that's built using a bucket at its front, which I think is also clever. So while I still have complaints about the way this set is set up, I do think it's got a lot of detail. It's like all the negatives I bring up, which are mostly just like one big one, but they don't make this a bad set. I'll give my final thing once we go through the rest of it, but that's the first floor. So let's look at the second level of stuff and go from there. All right, so here are the 2 second floor buildings that come off. We already looked at that one, but it's not really meant to come off. So in the middle here, we have just like an apartment kind of setup. It's cramped, but it's got a little kitchenette, bunk beds, and, you know, it's got this window, which I think is a pretty interesting use of that big wheel, and it's even got a little TV down there. So again, they use the space, and they get a lot into that space, but I wonder if maybe if they just brought this building out, like 2 to 4 studs, if it might not have been a better use of space. That's kind of been the theme between these 2 Ninjago sets, is that they are cramped, and I get why they're cramped, but I feel like they could have done a little bit better. This is Dareth's little dojo. It's, you know, for what it is, it's fine. It's got the ninja techniques or kung fu or whatever. It's got some decorations on the walls, and it's even got some trophy stuff right there. So it's a neat little use of space. It's not anything to write home about. I do like how they did the scroll, but otherwise it's just fine. So that's the second level. So let's look at the third level and then go from there. Okay, so our two shops or buildings, or whatever you want to call them, that we have on the top level of this set are what kind of seems like a newsstand, but like a more involved one. It's got those handcuffs there, but it's got newspapers there, and on this side where another entrance is, there's one on both sides. So I don't know if it's supposed to be like an apothecary or a knick-knack shop or whatnot. It's got mistake on it, on the box. So if she runs that in the show, there we go. But, you know, it's got some interesting detail with the way the drawers are pulled out with those hinge pieces. And it's got enough room to stick her or whoever right there. So it's not like a lot, but it's interesting. And it uses these fence, like some other parts, it uses these fence pieces as windows, which there's a lot of interesting little side builds like that. Not, well, builds on their side, studs on side builds. So it's neat. I do have to question why there's this window here, when again, this is meant to be up against a side of a building. So I hope that's an interesting looking wall that it's going to be up against. And like the other top of this build, top room of this build, this does connect to the walkway of the Ninjago City. So whatever side you have it on can connect there, and that's neat. I'm glad they took that in consideration. But yeah, the other side is an arcade. At least that's what I'm calling it. It's got 2 arcade machines in it. And then there's a soda machine here, and if you push this in, there we go, and that just feeds back on top there. So that's clever. And like I said, it's got 2 arcades in there. They've both got stickers on the side that you can't really see. One is for Blockbot and one is a ninja game. And it's also got this Lost in Space / most likely Planet of Fear reference, and then also another Bionicle reference there. At least that's what I think it is. I think it's from one of the later Bionicle sets when I was kind of getting out of them. But there's no, unless Betsy is supposed to be running this shop with her baby, there's not really an assigned figure that I know of for this. It does also have like this gumball machine, which is cute, but it doesn't work, of course, because it's not big enough. But it also has that walkway, but then that connects to the staircase down here. It's also got this interesting back, which is just nice looking. It's nothing to write home about too much, though. So that's the set. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. It is a good build. It's detailed like the previous one. And it's got an interesting skyline because it's got the varied heights that you don't see much. Even in the previous one, outside of the tower, the 2 separate buildings, quote unquote, were the same height. So this is nice in that regard. However, I don't like it as much as the previous one. And having looked at the other 2 sets of the Ninjago modular line that I don't have, I really wish I can at least known about the Ninjago City markets before getting this, because that one I think would have been better for what I'm looking for in this city. I'm still going to put this in my city. Again, I don't dislike it. I don't think it's a bad set, but it gets less points from me. I just think that it could have been better, or better is probably not the right word, but more eye-catching, maybe. This is sort of the old town kind of feel, where this is the oldest part of a city that's still got that antiquated feel, and I don't dislike that. It's just that looking at what I built last time and what I'm going to build next time, this is not as much feeling I'm getting from this, and that's a shame, because it's not bad, but in comparison to this and the gardens and the markets, it's just not doing it for me as much. So It's going in the city. I still like it. I don't regret getting it. I just, in comparison, I kind of regret not knowing about the markets beforehand. But with that said, let's stick it in the city and see how it looks. All right, and here's what it looks like next to the Ninjago City set from last time. Again, it does connect right in there on both levels, so I do applaud them for planning that out, because most of the other modulars just have to have the sidewalk. It kind of wouldn't have surprised me if they had messed that up at some point, and maybe they do on one of the other Ninjago City sets, but it still looks good. Like I said, for all the complaints I have, this is not a bad set. It's just, I really wish it was more than it is. And that's a complaint that I probably could have planned on if I had thought about it ahead of time. But it is what it is now. That being said, as much as I think this is a good skyline, based on the way the garden set is, which is the next one that we're going to build, these docks might get moved to this side. I'll have to see how that looks once it gets done, but that's technically another corner piece, but like this one, it's got a second half plate. So it's 1.5 plates long, even though it's a corner piece. So either way, it's going to fill out this L here that I'm going for, but I do think that the way it's situated, the gardens might need to go on this side, which will kind of make the skyline situation that this currently has less impactful, unless you're looking at it from over here. But either way, the sets will be out, and I think it'll look good in the long run, even if I think it could have looked better if I had picked a different second Ninjago set. So, regardless, do you have the Ninjago City docks? Do you have it with the Ninjago City or any of the other Ninjago City modulars? And do you like them? Do you think this setup looks all right? Are you as annoyed about how the back of the set is really the front of the set as I am? Or are you thinking, Caden, shut up? And if you're thinking that, I don't know why you're watching this video. Maybe you watch it to tell me to shut up, and if you need to do that, do it down below. But regardless, I hope you had a good time in my basement today, and I'll see you in the next one.